Hello, I'm Jim Cornwall, and this is the WalkingPost.com podcast. WalkingPost.com is the news website dedicated to walking, with all the latest on books, trails, festivals, gear, health, events, fitness, and more. This podcast is number 49 and it's going live on April the 17th. I'm determined to not talk about the weather, but nothing else has really happened this week, so maybe we'll just keep going. It is still the Easter school holidays here, so I've been enduring lots of odd YouTube videos. Well, I think they are anyway. Maybe it's a generational thing. I guess I went from 3 channels as a kid on a black and white TV to 400 million YouTube videos about watching someone play a video game. Let's get to April the 17th. It's World Haemophilia Day, Bat Appreciation Day, and that is the flying mammal, not the type that you hit a ball with. It's Clean Out Your Medicine Cabinet Day, and apparently it is Ford Mustang Day. I remember once I went to an event in the US and I'd rented a vehicle at the airport. I always go with the mid-size ones because at 6'3", you can't get in most of the small cars. And of course, when I got there, they took me out to the parking lot and they said they didn't have a mid-size. So they desperately tried to squeeze me into a smaller car. And of course, my head was on the roof. They tried 3 and then gave up. The guy fetched his manager who tried 2 more small cars that I couldn't fit in, and he sounded like a relative had just died when he said, "Okay, I guess we'll have to upgrade you." After I made sure that there was no extra cost, he led me to what can only be described as the ugliest and biggest car I have ever seen. I've no idea what it was. Anyway, sadly I did fit in it, but then it wouldn't start. So I had to go back in, and they tried to get it to start and failed. And at this point it started to feel like I was either walking or that they really didn't want to give me a car at all. Then finally the manager said, "Well, there's only one car left that I think might fit you." And he took me to a red convertible Ford Mustang. And then asked me what was maybe the stupidest question ever. He said, "Will this one do?" Yes, it will. I have no idea how many miles I put on that thing in 5 days, but I did manage to avoid speeding tickets. Anyway, that was another digression. April the 17th. It's the day in 1951 when the UK announced its first national park, and that was the Peak District. And it's the day that the stricken Apollo 13 landed back on Earth. For birthdays, well, hundreds of allegedly famous people I've never heard of, as well as Victoria Beckham and Jan Hammer. Last week we talked about the Mole Valley Spring Walking Festival, and this week the subject is Tai Chi walking, among other trends, with Ashley Katzenback, a doctor of physical therapy and owner of Cape Concierge Physical Therapy. Before we get going, if you do have news, guest ideas or even suggestions for subjects to cover or comments, or you want to advertise, please do get in touch via walkingpost.com or just email me at jim@walkingpost.com. Okay, so let's go through some of the headlines of the news articles you may have missed that we had on walkingpost.com over the past week. Walk the Path for Wellbeing will take place across 3 counties in 2026. Walks to support Lennox-Gastaut syndrome research have been announced, and the Walk This May challenge in Herefordshire and Worcestershire is hoping to beat their 2025 total. A man has been jailed for straying off a hiking path. There is a new nature trail at Grand Western Canal Country Park. Baffin has debuted its post-hike recovery clog, and the Greater Manchester Walking Festival is set to go in May. LA Climate Week kicked off with an Eaton Canyon restoration effort, and a new walking trail in New York celebrates pizza. I suspect if they eat at all 3 pizza places they visit on the trail, even on foot, they're probably going to take in more calories than they burn. Anyway, you can read all of these and more at walkingpost.com. This week we're looking at one of the latest online walking trends, and that is Tai Chi walking. I admit to not knowing much about it, but it's appearing in a lot of searches, so clearly it is the latest in thing. To find out more, our guest this week is Ashley Katzenback, a doctor of physical therapy and owner of Cape Concierge Physical Therapy, with 2 offices in Massachusetts on Cape Cod. Definitely an amazing part of New England. Anyway, Ashley has more than 20 years of experience and she's an expert on things like walking. So hi Ashley, thanks for joining us today, and I'm excited to learn about Tai Chi walking. But first, maybe you can give us a bit of background on what it is you do.
Sure. Well, I am a physical therapist. I have been a physical therapist for 20 years now. I first became interested in it as a high school student, and I had some wear and tear injuries from playing sports. And I went to physical therapy and I thought, well, this looks fun. It was a very engaging environment. Plus, people got better, which was nice to see. So I applied to school. I went to college and grad school at the same school. I played lacrosse in college, so it kind of kept you on your toes. And then I graduated. My husband's also a physical therapist. We met at school, so we were, just a big go PT family. And graduated, worked in an outpatient clinic for 15 years, 2 different clinics along the way. But I got a little bit burnt out seeing so much volume. With insurance-based care in a private setting, you need to see a certain amount of volume to kind of keep the lights on, pay the salaries, pay the overhead, so seeing 3 or 4 patients every hour and the documentation that goes along with that just left me feeling a little bit dissatisfied. I never once in 15 years didn't want to go to work, and I finally felt like I didn't want to go to work. So I felt like there had to be a different way, and I took a chance and opened up my own practice. I filed for my LLC and started just by going to people's homes. I opened Cape Concierge Physical Therapy. I had a portable treatment table in the back of my car and the skills in my brain and my hands, and I just would go to people's homes and provide treatment without taking insurance. And it worked really well, and it caught on faster than I thought, which was great. But I didn't necessarily have a backup plan for, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to hire someone. How do I do this? So I was lucky enough to find a business coach that really understood me and that I didn't want to be about sales. And we work really well together. And she's taught me a lot about business, because in physical therapy school, you learn about physical therapy. I know nothing about business, but I have learned. And she helped me develop systems and hire great people, really, really great clinicians. And 4 years in, I now have 3 full-time physical therapists, an administrator, a pelvic health therapist, and part-time occupational therapist, and a part-time speech therapist.
Wow. So what kind of things do you deal with there?
Oh, great question. My passion is chronic pain, helping people avoid unnecessary surgeries, staying off pain medications, and unnecessary injections. Helping people who have osteoporosis learn how to treat it so they don't have compression fractures and rebuild their bone density. And then, because I'm partially biased with my 2 daughters, teaching young female athletes how to prevent ACL injuries, how to become strong and resilient so that as they develop into full-grown women, they can have a foundation to become an athlete for life. My team all has different skills. Kara is a menopause specialist, so she treats a lot of women with menopause. Nicole is a neurological certified specialist, so she treats a lot of Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and stroke survivors. Justin is a sports medicine specialist. Kaylee is a pelvic floor specialist. So we kind of all have our little niches and we work really well together. But we all have the one thing in common, in that we want people to move better. If you move better, you generally live better. If you're living longer and you're living better, you're generally happier.
Seems to be an area that's really developed a lot because you were talking about ACL injuries, and that seems to be, now that women's soccer has really taken off, that
Yeah.
seems to be the one thing that women seem to be more susceptible to in soccer is ACL injuries?
Yep. Women's soccer has the highest prevalence of ACL injuries in a non-contact, in theory, a non-contact sport, right? We know soccer is a contact sport, but they're non-contact injuries that where ACLs are tearing, right? So it's like, why are we tearing our ACLs more now than we ever have? And I have some mixed opinions on this. And FIFA 11 is doing a ton of research and they've got a lot of grant money and they're putting a lot of effort into this. I think that some of their efforts are a little bit misplaced, but I love that they're bringing the attention to it. They're putting a lot of emphasis on part of the reason why women are tearing their ACLs is because of their menstrual cycle. But we've always had a menstrual cycle. We've always played sports, right? So why now are we tearing our ACLs? And so we could get into all kinds of things about why that might be, but we're also specializing in sport at a much younger age. There's less physical education in school than there had been. We're jumping into sports without strength training. We're playing at a much more competitive level, at a much younger level. I mean, there's a whole bunch that goes into it, but if at a younger level, at a fundamental developmental level, if we're not learning how to control our body from a neuromuscular standpoint, and we're just doing skills, and we keep progressing up the chain, if we don't have that core control of our body, over time, we're more likely to get injured.
Yeah, I also have a life sciences podcast and biotech.
Okay.
And one of the things that is completely apparent is that women's health has been massively underfunded and massively understudied. And I think one of the biggest problems is that women's soccer shoes or cleats are the same as men's. And I'm sure that that's a huge part of it, is that there needs to be a lot of
Yes.
work done on developing footwear that's appropriate for them.
100%. 100%. I was at a lacrosse IWLCA. I coach women's lacrosse as well. And this summer we were at a tournament and there's a company called Cadix. And I'm sure there's a bunch of also other companies that are developing it, but they were modeling a cleat for women's lacrosse and women's soccer. And the heel was much more narrow. So it fit the women's heel much better, much snugger. And the toe box was much wider. And interestingly, they had the spikes in the middle that rotated. So when you were planting, there could be some rotation as opposed to the plant and stick. I don't know if everything's been perfected yet, but I love that they're moving in that direction. To be completely honest, right up until 1993, as you know, women weren't studied. We weren't doing any studies on women. So we have a lot of catching up to do. Yeah.
As, as, as far as, I mean, you see a lot of people with injuries, but how important and how good is walking for health?
I would say it's the number one best thing you could ever do. I feel very strongly saying that. I mean, I'm in a stage in my life where I'm perimenopausal myself. I'm seeing a lot of perimenopausal women, and the big focus is on strength, right? Strength, building muscle mass and bone density. And that is critical. But the benefits that we get from walking, I think, surpass anything else we could do because they not only provide, weight bearing, but it's the mental health. It's the decrease in anxiety, the increased serotonin, the decrease in blood pressure. It's all of the other whole body benefits from walking that then allow us to have the space in our brains to go do everything else we need to do. It's our foundation. It's non-negotiable. Walking has to happen every day. If you can do one thing every day, it's walking. And then if you can add, there's so many other things you need to do, but so as to not overwhelm yourself, walking is the number one, and then we build from there.
So, what are some of the problems that you see with gait and balance?
Well, we sit too much. In general, I guess we could look at this from a couple different points of view. In general, we, as a society, if we sit too much, we get stiffer and it's harder to walk. If we're looking at it from terms of longevity, if we can walk longer in life, we will move better. If we move better, we have more days living well. So the thing that stops us from walking longer in life is we sit too much. And then our hips and our ankles get stiffer. And if our hips and ankles get stiffer, we take shorter steps and we walk slower. If we walk slower, that's kind of an indicator that if we start walking slower, our hips and ankles are getting stiffer. This is a question I get asked all the time. How do I know that I'm getting stiffer? My hips are getting stiffer, my ankles are getting stiffer. And the answer is you start walking slower. And people just assume that you're getting older, so you're going to walk slower. And that's not true. But it's a little warning sign. If you can limit your sitting into sitting no more than 30 minutes at one time, right? Then you can limit trigger points from forming. You can limit those muscles from shortening. Get up and move. I do a lot of office ergonomics, and set a timer, put a sticky note. If you can get up every 30 minutes and even do like 5 back bends, or just stand up every 30 minutes and then sit back down. But if you give some of those sitting muscles a chance to turn off or deregulate, you're going to give other muscles a chance to work.
A lot of people, I think, get to the point where they think, oh, well, I've been doing that for 15 years. It's too late for me to do
Yeah.
anything about it. Is there anything that you can do about it?
Yeah. I think one of the best things about this field, like this movement field, right, is that you can gain muscle under any circumstances at any age, under any condition. It's amazing. It sometimes takes a little longer, but you can always do it. So if you've been sedentary for a lot longer than you would have liked to been, you can still strengthen your glutes. You can still strengthen your calf muscles, right? And if we think about the muscles that are on the back side of our body, those are the ones that have gotten weaker and shorter from sitting. I mean, even just sitting here, we can squeeze our glutes. We can be sending a message to our glutes to say, okay, let's bring some blood flow so that when we stand up, we're ready. Or we can be doing some calf raises, or as the trendy word on the TikTok is, the soleus push up, we can be pushing our calves up. And so we're bringing blood to those muscles so that it's easier when we stand up.
Right.
But exercise will always work. It's quite remarkable, really.
And
Yeah.
speaking of exercise, all of the time there are new trends, it seems like every couple of weeks, and quite
Yeah.
often the latest trend isn't actually the latest trend at all. It started, 5 years ago, but all of a sudden
Yeah.
it spikes. Is that the case for? I'm seeing a lot about Tai Chi walking right now. Has that
Yeah.
been around a long time?
I think some version of it, if we can compare it to women's fashion, right? It's the skinny jeans and then the bell bottom jeans and then the boot cut jeans and then the wide leg jeans. And if I have to go through one more cycle of jeans, I don't know what I'm going to do. But similar to Tai Chi walking and yoga walking and the 666 walking and the 2330 walking, and I mean, the retro walking, I like that trend. That trend should stay. That should stay forever. We all need to walk backwards. Japanese walking, that's another good one. I mean, there's so many trends. The Tai Chi walking, which is the one that we're talking about, which seems to be the one that's very popular right now. It's great for balance, right? I mean, Tai Chi walking is simply you're walking at a much slower pace. When you walk ordinarily, you're putting one foot down, then the other foot down. It's like a single leg balance, one foot to the next. Tai Chi walking is you're doing that, but much slower. So you don't, if your right foot's on the ground, you put your left foot on the ground. You don't pick up your right foot until all the weight is slowly transferred onto your left foot. And you do it very slowly and methodically. And it's great for balance, coordination. I just don't think it's walking. I think it's a great exercise, and it's great for balance, and it's great for mindfulness and connection to your body and where your feet are on the ground and kind of stacking each joint over the other one. But I don't think it's walking. So it's a great exercise though, and it does then prepare you. You would be better if you love Tai Chi. It's then a great way to better prepare to go and participate in a Tai Chi class or a Tai Chi practice, because you're going to have kind of the basics already set up. Maybe it's a nice warm up for walking.
Are there
Yeah.
downsides to it as an exercise, or?
No, I think it's great. It's a great balance exercise. It's a way to feel where your feet are on the ground. And especially, right now, some of the footwear that people wear, they're so padded and thick and cushioned, and it's hard for you to feel where your foot is on the ground. Tai Chi walking is a great way for you to feel where your foot is. So I think you're going to have a hard time with it if you're wearing a really stiff shoe or a really padded shoe. You're going to lose your balance very quickly. But I have a feeling if you're interested in Tai Chi, you're probably wearing a much more minimal shoe.
Is there a danger you were saying about it not really being walking? Is there a danger that people are treating it as if they have done walking?
Well, I mean, I don't think you're getting any cardiovascular benefit, right? So if you're thinking that this is my cardiovascular, I don't think you're getting your heart rate up. Now, I could be wrong. I tried it. I don't feel like my heart rate elevated at all. I guess what is my intention? If my intention is that I think I'm walking, therefore I am elevating my heart rate, I am going to get decreased blood pressure out of this, I'm going to burn body fat, I'm going to circulate my insulin so that I'm less likely to get diabetes. I don't think any of those things are going to happen. If your intention is to get the same benefits as walking, you're not going to get that. If my intention is to work on muscle strength, balance, coordination, breathing, relaxation, absolutely, you'll get those benefits.
And I suppose if it's outside, there's a benefit to being out.
Yes. Yes. And so that's just it. Like, what do we want to get out of walking? Being outside and going for a slow walk and just breathing, there are so many benefits to that. Just by being in nature, you automatically sleep better. You lower your anxiety. You kind of reset your circadian rhythm. I mean, there's so many benefits just to being outside. So, however slow you're moving, you're going to be healthier.
Are you finding that a lot of people are taking too much advice from things like social media and now with the chatbots telling you what to do all the time?
I think that people are taking advice from everywhere, right? Social media, chatbots, ChatGPT, Claude, all those things. But I think that they're taking it because they crave information, they crave education, right? So it's hard to get upset about that because they want information. So I think as healthcare providers, we need to do a better job of giving them that information, right? I mean, there's like a sea of information at their fingertips. I think we need to educate people on, well, how do I know this is real information? How do I know this is good information? Maybe we can tell them, can you be a little bit more discerning? Where did this information come from? Teaching people was that a peer reviewed article? Is that actual science? Is that data? Where did that come from? Maybe teaching them how to find the right source of information and what's the difference between a fitness influencer and a physical therapist. But I love that people want information. I love that they're trying to better their bodies with this information. Instead of being so reliant on, I can only get this information from my primary care physician. I can only get this information from my orthopedic specialist. I love that they're trying to take some initiative and take some control over their own bodies instead of being like, well, I'm helpless. I can't do anything about it. And I'm waiting to get in to see my doctor. So I do like that. I just think we need to be a little bit more discerning about the information we're receiving.
Yeah, definitely. What about the fact that kind of like diets with walking, you mentioned Japanese walking and
Yeah.
the 666, and it seems like Tai Chi's the current one, but a couple of months from now there'll be another one. Why is it that there are so many trends that come and go?
Yeah. I think we love the flash. I think we love something fancy and shiny and something that grabs our attention. We don't want the boring basic stuff. The boring basic stuff, even though that those are the things that work, they're not that exciting. Who wants to just go for a walk? That's not that exciting. Even though the results, they work and you feel great, but they're not going to grab anyone's attention, right? They're not going to sell any ads. They're not going to get any likes. They're not going to get any comments. They're not going to get reposted. In this age of the quick dopamine fix, we need the quick like and the follow and the reshare and the hashtags. And I mean, I don't get it all, but I'm trying to learn more about it, the algorithm and all those things. We want people to like us. And so we have to do something that's going to grab their attention. And those things may actually work, but the more shiny we can make them and attention grabbing, the more people are going to look at it. And even if it's exact same thing, just recycled, repurposed, we wrapped it up and put a different bow on it, it may just be the same thing. But on the other hand, if it gets you outside and moving and trying something different, people could try 6 different kinds of walking and then they could see, okay, well, which is the one for me? Maybe there's all these different kinds of walking and they haven't found the one that they like and they try them all and they find the one that works for them because we have to exercise and maybe you just haven't found the one you like. So I can see both sides of the coin.
You mentioned some of the other trends like walking
Mhm.
backwards, and you
Mhm.
seemed really
Oh, I
enthused
love
over
it.
that one. What's that one?
Well, number one, walking backwards is the best way you can improve your balance. Because if I look at my populations of patients that are aging, and walking backwards is one of the hardest skills, and we're more likely when we fall backwards, right? And then again, we hit our head, it's more dangerous. So, practicing walking backwards is a great way to improve your balance. But from a musculoskeletal standpoint, it's a great way to strengthen our quads and take some pressure off our knees. When we walk forward and we use our correct technique of putting our heel strike and then push off on our toes, it can be a lot of impact on our knees depending on our technique and how many miles we're walking. So whenever we can walk backwards, it takes a little pressure off our knees and lets different muscles take a turn. It also helps alleviate a lot of low back pain. When we walk forward, like we were talking about earlier, we spend a lot of time sitting. And so our natural inclination is sometimes to lean forward as we walk if we haven't quite mastered the concept of stretching out the front of our hips so we can be nice and tall. When we walk backwards, you really have to stretch out and be tall. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for you to walk backwards, particularly if you can walk uphill backwards. Now, that's really, I would say, the gold standard. If you can walk uphill backwards, you're going to get rid of your back pain, you're going to strengthen your glutes, you're going to fire all kinds of muscles. So that would be my pick of the litter. I'm going to start that trend. Just walk uphill. That's going to be the next one.
How would you recommend people like look and see where they are?
Yeah. It is tricky, right? I mean, obviously, if you can do it with a partner, right, that would be the safest, right? You take turns, like one walks forward, one walks backwards. But, if you're on a track, if you're on a grassy surface, you could use a treadmill. It is tricky. But part of that is actually also makes it even better because you have to be mindful of your surroundings. You're not going to walk as fast naturally, but you're also going to pay attention to your footing. You have to pay attention to your body a little bit more. So you can't just tune out, you have to be more mindful. So there's also that benefit, right? Where is my body in space? What are my arms doing? Where are my hips? Where are my feet? So you get that proprioceptive feedback from your feet. You kind of feel where your body is in space. So I think there's many more benefits than just this muscle strengthening to the walking backwards.
In terms of the distance, though, what obviously you're not going to walk 4 miles backwards, but
Yep. Yep. I like to say you do it until your quads are tired, right? Until you can feel your quadriceps are fatiguing. That's how you know you've done it enough. You'd be surprised they tire out pretty quickly. And that's how you know, like, oh gosh, this really is so good for my quads because you can feel it right away.
is it something like the interval walking where you could do
Mhm.
forwards and then a bit of backwards, then forwards and a bit of backwards?
Definitely. Definitely. I even give this to my runners. They're running along and they start to get some tightness in the outer part of their knees or the dreaded IT band syndrome, right? And I just say, well, walk backwards. Use a different muscle for a little bit. So they'll be running along or walking along and they get some pain in their outer part of their legs or some stiffness. And then they walk backwards for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. It goes away. Then they can resume walking forwards. Obviously, you're going to be able to walk backwards for less duration for a number of reasons, practicality being the number one. But so say you walked forwards for 8 minutes and you walked backwards for two. That'd be a great interval.
Probably good for that balance and gait that you were talking about earlier as well.
Walking backwards is just a skill that we underdevelop, and it's so important.
Probably good for
So,
athletes too. That
oh,
and
definitely. I mean, we talk about to circle full circle to our ACL training, right? A great way that I like to have my female athletes warm up is I put them on a treadmill, just because if we're in a gym, and I have them walk on an incline backwards uphill for 10 or 15 minutes till their quads are really tired, and then we start. So it's a great way to get certain muscle groups going, bring blood flow to them. It's a great exercise if you'd been fairly sedentary and you wanted to pick up walking. For example, I have a patient right now. He had recently retired. He loves walking and he just all of a sudden picked up walking and he was having so much fun. He was really enjoying it, being outside, but he walked a little bit too far and he ended up with some knee pain. And so what I tell people is that if you haven't walked in a while and you want to pick it up, just try not to add more than like say 10% to your total mileage a week. That's a nice way to prevent any overuse injuries. right? So say if you walk a total of 5 miles this week, maybe try not to walk more than 5.5 next week, just so your body has a chance to acclimate to the impact of the ground if you haven't been walking. It's hard because you get out there and you just want to walk and walk because it feels so good. And you can, but just know that if you haven't done it in a while, you may just want to ease into things a little bit. Or cross train, right? Some walking, some biking, some swimming. I mean, that's the best way to do it. If you're feeling tired, you go for a walk, you have more energy. If you couldn't sleep and you're trying to get over jet lag, you go for a walk outside. You have some brain fog, like I often do, you go for a walk and all of a sudden you can remember what it was you were trying to think about. You don't know what to cook for dinner? You go for a walk and you'll figure it out. It's the most perfect exercise because it lets all of your body systems, your lymphatic system works better, your cognition works better. You can prevent diabetes, or you can treat diabetes, your cardiovascular system. It's an exercise you can do anywhere, under any circumstances. It doesn't cost anything. It's my favorite. So I'm so glad that you wanted to talk about it today.
So that will just about do it for this week. School is back on Monday, so that's when all of the rain will stop. And if you do have news or suggestions for podcast guests, please do get in touch through jim@walkingpost.com. We are always looking for guests, whether it's about a new trail, a new book, a walking festival, or someone who's done an amazing, unusual, or interesting walk somewhere. So I hope you enjoyed this week's walkingpost.com podcast, and I hope you have a great week ahead, hopefully with a walk somewhere, Tai Chi style. Until next time, happy trails! Walking Post from walkingpost.com is an Air Coastal Media Limited production.